got one in my car, my other car, my truck, and got 2 or 3 in the living room. And I just grab a Bible. And there are times this old man is so exhausted. I'll open the Bible like it's holding a handful of hot lava. I don't want to open it, but I'll open it and I'll read, and God said, "Good night, God," and I shut the Bible. He didn't tell me how much to read. So I read the Bible. I'm obeying. I'm kind of legalistic in a way, but I'm sure that he would like a little more than that. But there have been times I have been that tired, and I have done that. But I read a tiny bit, and God said, or whatever. So just he's not asking you to read big bunches. He's asking you to read it. That's all. So read it if you're wise. All right. Now, again, don't worry, don't turn it off yet. This is dangerous, but it's only dangerous because, well, it's not dangerous only because you got a designated driver to take care of you. And I guarantee you, if I got to slap your face, ladies, I'm going to slap your face. I'll guarantee it. And guys, if I got to knock the living crap out of you and you get up and stomp me to death, I don't care. I want you back home. Because in this trip, you will go into a tree. You will be the tree. And when we're done with this, we go outside and you will talk with something, at least something out there. If you're successful, not all are, but generally all are. Almost always all are. Okay? Now, I'm going to want you all to relax. This is strictly relaxation. All right? It's time to turn that off. And time to turn that down again, the light. Okay, let's start with you, my brother. What happened on the relaxation tree trip to you?
In here?
Yes.
Yes. I, of course, chosen my favorite, the walnut, in the field of buttercups and bitter grass. And when I entered the tree, I could suddenly feel its branches, and I could see, feel this huge extent of many limbs, and just a freedom up high. You touched all the air. It's a wonderful feeling.
Hey. Now outside, what happened?
There, I just wandered off into toward the thicket and said, "Well, we'll see what goes on here." And of course, didn't get very far in, and my robe hung up on a thorn bush or a thorn tree, and I backed away from it, and well, we can't go through there. And then suddenly it dawned on me that is where I should go.
That's right, it stopped you there.
And I said, I went back up to it and found it with my hands. I said, "Ah, that's the one." And then I began to see the lights. They're just very faint. It's like ghostly little images, just sort of shimmering around. They're just not very bright and not defined, but just a sensation that I remember so much from meditations on rare occasions. And then I heard, "Nobody wants me. Come and be with me." And so I said, "Yes." I spent some minutes and enjoyed the company and took a little piece and gave thanks.
Oh. You see, some plants, people don't realize that weeds have a reason, and a thorny type bush has a reason, and people look down at it because it hurts and stuff. But it has a reason. Nobody wants it, and yet, and it's sad because it's got a job to perform. It's part of the ecology. And people don't look at some of these things as much use, but deep down in the root system and stuff, They shelter many things, worms and so on and so forth, that do want it. And each has a place. Each has a reason. Okay? Yourself.
I was walking down the road.
No, here. In here
Oh,
first.
I'm sorry. I have a favorite tree. It's a young tree I brought with me from Wisconsin. And it's a maple tree. It's still a young tree. It's probably about 12, 13, 14 feet high. And that's the one I pictured in the field. And I love the tree. And I was walking towards it like you said and stopped just like you said. And when I got to it, I became the trunk of the tree. Because it's not a big tree yet. It's only about this big around, but it was like I was part of that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the leaves. I could feel the leaves in the wind going through the leaves.
You could actually feel it, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And it was a great experience. It was a wonderful. I just love this tree.
Love it more now than you did before, too. Now, what happened outside?
I walked down the road and I didn't hear anything, but I was pulled to the two cedar trees, I believe they are.
Yes.
And as I went to the one more on the right, and I thanked the tree for allowing me to be drawn to it. And I offered it the tobacco, and the tree said, "I want to bless you." And the branch touched my head. And in my mind, I could hear it talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not like we're talking.
No, this is the way nature works.
And the tree says, "I want to bless you for," and I don't know whether it was for the tobacco or what. But then I felt like the tree next to it was calling too, and I apologized to the second tree that I didn't have a gift for it, but I asked the first tree to share its tobacco with the second tree. And I said, "I wish I could spend more time with you, but I have to go inside." But I was really pleased that the tree blessed me.
Yeah, that is a blessing in itself. Great. You, sis.
I had trouble keeping back from the tree. The tree kept pulling me, and I kept feeling the bark of it before you wanted me that close. And then when I got up to it and said, "Go in," I could feel the strength of it.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel the hardness.
Well, you became the strength of it.
It was a really awesome feeling. And then I could see on the other side of the hill this valley spread out, and it was just a really peaceful place to be, and very strong. It just felt really strong.
Hi. And outside?
Outside, I walked that direction, and this tree glowed white, just straight up and down, and just a white pillar. And I walked up to it, and when I touched the bark, it was the bark of my tree. But my tree's so dark, I mean, it didn't fit. I mean, the being so light the way it was, and so I just hugged it, and I asked it if it had always been a tree, if it always would be a tree, and it said it would always be a tree. But it wasn't as young as I thought it was. It was much older than that because it was interconnected with the other trees. And then it said, "You're very kind people," and that it enjoyed living out there. And then it asked me if I wanted a piece, and I said, "No, I don't need to take a piece." I'll never forget what that was like.
Hi. Great.
I cried.
Man, dang airhead. All right. And you, brother?
My tree it's kind of a tall spruce like what I've seen in New Mexico in here, and the two sensations that were really unusual for me was one was a feeling of tallness. It's like amazing tallness, and the other one, which was very interesting, was a feeling of breathing through every part of your body.
Oh, it does. It does.
That was just a very powerful.
Uh-huh.
And outside, I walked this direction and I heard my name called. It was a very tall, big tree just out this way. But I heard, first thing, I stand in service of the Creator. And then the next thing was, feel the rhythm of my breathing. And this rhythm is the rhythm of the universe. That's what I heard. And that was it.
Did you feel that rhythm?
Yeah.
Aye, aye.
Yeah, it was tied in, I know, back to the visualization of feeling the breath, too. Those two were
Mhm.
tied together, so I understood that was a
Great.
special treat.
And my brother Dick.
Well, as I sat in here and visualized before I went out, I went into relaxation and maybe too deep into relaxation. Kept kind of drifting in and out,
That happens to some, don't worry about
But
it.
the experience with trees and feeling trees is not necessarily new to me. I have different places on our property. We have 60 acres down the road, and different places that I go to meditate and pray and so on, and many times touch the trees or embrace the trees or lean against the trees and so on, and there are several. The most difficult part was choosing a tree, because I've got different trees on the property and they each have kind of different feelings to me. I've got one old sentinel that's up by the road that is, it's probably, this big around, and it's almost always a pine tree that calls to me, and I like the green of the pine trees. It's a year-round soothing feeling to me, and it never goes to sleep, as the deciduous trees do. So the pine trees, being a Michigander, is very important to me. Living also in Minnesota, so on. And but there's a big one up near the highway that kind of watches over the entrance of the property. There's another big one that stands just a little farther away. That's probably maybe slightly even bigger. There's another big one just another 100 feet beyond, and then down the slope just a little bit, there's one that I don't think anybody's been able to reach around yet, the pine tree. And then in my mind, I went back to a building site that Barbara and I have, where there's all kinds of pine trees there, and I love all of them. And there's a gnarly old oak that we call a swing tree that has a big limb that comes out, sweeps up a little bit, and that's going to be my granddaughter's swing tree. But there's another piece of property that I go to, and I thought seriously about that one. There's another pine tree, and then I went back to the area where the labyrinth is, and think about the pine trees that are there and so on, and the special feelings I've had there. I finally settled on a tree that wasn't the largest, but sits almost in the exact middle of the property, it seems like. And it overlooks the deer run and the small lake we put in and so on. And I finally settled on that one. And I thought a lot about that tree and its shape. It has a limb sticking out part way up, and it goes on up to be a very nice pine tree. And I've looked at that tree a lot, when I've sat back there during deer season and so on, and seen the different kinds of wildlife around there. And so that was the one that I centered on in my thinking. And I did see myself going up to the tree and being against the tree and feeling like I was in the tree, and it was a very soothing feeling. When I went outside, I went down the road to a cedar tree, down the driveway to a cedar tree that's halfway down on the right-hand side, and tossed the tobacco in several different directions, and was thankful for your teaching, thankful that you had come here to explain things to us, and leaned up against the tree and felt very close to the tree, and could feel a sense of loneliness in that tree, and it did stand alone. there were no other trees right around it. And that was basically the feeling that I felt. It was my experience.